love how God works, that when we were discussing in Sunday school this morning practical ways to love and show mercy to others, and without us even knowing, Diane has it upon her heart to, in a very practical way, demonstrate the love of Christ to people this morning. That's what the church should be about. That's what I hope we will be about. Well, we're going to move into a very challenging area to look at in Scripture, the tribulation. We're picking it up where we left off last week. And as we do so, let me address again, just so that our thinking is that we're on the page, same page. We need to understand how fast the world is changing and how much it's changing, and we're not even taking notice of it. Many of us do not realize how aggressive the world has been moving us in the direction of us being a one world. The age of Star Trek, the age of everybody coming together, one economy, one government, one religion. It sounds so good that we don't even fear it anymore. We don't understand what it means to give up everything to somebody else's agenda. However, COVID did give us a glimpse of that. And most of us have come to once again desire freedom and to be cautious about giving up our rights. There are things going on in our world today that we're not even aware of. I was reading a couple books this week, and the other night I was reading a book written in 1994, and it scared me reading it today. And the reason it scared me reading it today is because everything the author predicted in 1994 has already happened. He talks about one day you'll be able to have a smart card that will be able to have 1 gigabyte of memory. Unheard of in 1994. Do you know there was no ATMs in 1994? There was no banking on computer or on the phones. This was all futuristic, and they said it would never come. Now, the Royal Bank and some of the other big banks of Canada have said they've set their goal not only to change banking, but to shut down banks in all rural communities across Canada. Because you don't need a bank in town anymore. All you need is a computer, a phone, or an ATM. Did you know that the changes in government at the last election, the new head of Canada Post has said there is no need to deliver mail in Canada any more than 3 days a week, and all postal services in rural communities should be shut down. We're spending more money than we're earning off them. They're a waste of time. Why? Because the majority of Canadians now get their mail online. The G7, you've all heard of the G7. The G7 has an agenda that they don't even tell us what their agenda is. However, they are committed to changing the world and bringing in a system that will be the equivalent of what we call a one-world society, where all nations are equal and all nations will have one language, one business practices, one money. Quoting from Google on that, they made this statement, August 7th, 2017. French is predicted to become the most widely spoken mother tongue in Europe by 2025 and the most widely spoken mother tongue in the world by 2050. And most of us didn't even know that world powers are seeking to change the world away from English. But we had a prime minister many years ago who was very vocal that we should change from the British system to the European system, and we should go metric and we should go French. And our country is one of the leading ones promoting that the language of the world in the next generation, not 100 years, not 1,000 years from now, in the next 25 years, the world should convert. In 2013, there was only a handful of people in the world who knew what cryptocurrency is. Cryptocurrency. Many of us don't know what it is in this room this morning. But did you know this? There are now 6,000 different cryptocurrencies in the world. 6,000 different kinds of finances that are being used on computers around the world. So if there are 6,000 different currencies being promoted right now, what do you think the next step is that they're promoting? There's too many. Can't we just have one currency for the whole world? And that is in the works right now. So what is shaping the world today? What is it that decides your future? What are the standards that are governing our lifestyle here in Canada and around the world? There are 5 standards. 5 standards that are being used to decide the future of the world. The first one is income inequality. World hunger is forcing us to move in the direction of having one equal income for the whole world. And where do you think that's being promoted the most? And the answer is in where we should get rid of the middle income, and the wealthy, their funds should be taken away and distributed amongst the poor so that we are all at one level financially. Number 2, our future is being decided by a new global political framework. There is a new framework that is driving the world politically today. It is called social democracy. Social democracy. And so the state should run the world. Still a democracy, but the goal of the democracy should be socialism. Our Prime Minister publicly promotes this for Canada and the rest of the world. Number 3, there is a profound generation shift going on. This affects everybody in this room. The builders and the boomers are passing away. We have very few builders left. For those of you who don't follow sociology and don't know those terms, the builders were those who were alive during the dirty 30s and 40s, during the Depression and the war years. Those people were the greatest building generation in history. During the Depression, when there was no money and people couldn't do anything, the builders, that generation, built towns and schools and hospitals and churches, Bible camps and schools, meaning Bible schools, especially here in Canada. More work was done to advance the gospel during the dirty 30s than is taking place today, and we are wealthy compared to the generation that was alive during the dirty 30s. But ask us to build something today and we say, can't afford it. Can't afford it. Well, why can't we afford it? We can't afford it because we live in such luxury that it takes everything we can earn to pay our bills. But in the dirty 30s, they didn't have that kind of a lifestyle. And then the boomers, I'm of an age group that I'm the last of the boomer generation. So you think of that, from 65 and older, that's the boomers and builders, and we are passing the torch of leadership down to the next generations. However, as you come down through the generations, for the first time in the history of Canada, lifespans in Canada are getting shorter now, not longer, because of our lifestyle. This profound shift that's taking place is shifting the money. All the money saved and put aside during the boomers and the builders is now going to a younger generation, and they have not had to work for that money. And what happens when hard times come by again and they have not personally worked for the wealth that they have inherited? And of course we see examples of that everywhere. Now, none of these apply to everybody, so don't be offended. I'm not pointing a finger at you. But it's the thinking of our society. Number 4, the most important issues on the globe today is the effect of the humanities upon the planet. The two most important issues facing people worldwide right now is global warming and pollution. And we are changing how we live, how we operate as countries, how we behave, even locally. Warming and pollution. And then get ready, because you never knew this was going to be such a problem, but it has now been declared one of the 5 most important things shaping the world. Weaponized social media. Not even a term that most of us are aware of. But social media is no longer reporting the news. Social media is dictating the news. And it's changing our world. Last night, after dark, after everybody went home, a report was filed in the United States. The committee that filed that report was put in place after the last election. They were put in place to prove that Donald Trump, in his election campaign, and I'm not pro-Trump, just so that you know, he's not my president. I'm a Canadian, I'm not an American. Okay? But Donald Trump was accused that he worked with the Russians to overthrow the election against Donald Trump, and so that he could be put in jail. Last night, the committee wrote and handed out their finding, and they did so after Washington shut down last night so that nobody would read the report. After investigating, they have proven that Hillary Clinton's campaign office hired people to infiltrate Donald Trump's organization to form a link with Russia to bring down the Trump administration. And when he won the election anyway,